topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
What's working on purpose anyway? Each week, we ponder the answer to this question. People ache for meaning and purpose at work, to contribute their talents passionately and know their lives really matter. They crave being part of an organization that inspires them and helps them grow into realizing their highest potential. Business can be such a force for good in the world, elevating humanity. In our program, we provide guidance and inspiration to help usher in this world we all want, working on purpose. Now, here's your host, Dr. Elise Cortez.
Welcome back to the Working on Purpose program, which has been brought to you with passion and pride since February of 2015 already. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Great to have you. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. If we've not met before and you don't know me, I'm a workforce advisor, organizational psychologist, management consultant, logotherapist, speaker, and author. My team and I at Gusto Now help companies enliven and fortify their operations by building a dynamic, high-performance culture, inspirational leadership, and nurturing managers activated by meaning and purpose. Many organizations are not aware of how critical it is to invest in developing their leaders and managers, not just for their own effectiveness, but also to avoid burnout and to keep them fulfilled. And did you know that inspired employees outperform their satisfied peers by a factor of 2.25 to 1? In other words, inspiration is good for the bottom line. You can learn more about us and how we can work together at gusto-now.com or my personal site, elisecortez.com. Getting into today's program, we have with us Monica Pierre, a keynote speaker, 3-time Suncoast Emmy Award-winning reporter and producer, communication expert, and transformational storyteller who ignites audiences through the power of character-driven monologues. She is assistant professor of practice in the Mass Communication Department at Xavier University of Louisiana in New Orleans and founder of the Storymaker Academy. She hosts the Powerhouse Women Show and also specializes in helping leaders and entrepreneurs move beyond fear to embrace authentic transformation. I've got a special treat for you today, and that Monica will be showcasing her expert storytelling skills so you too can learn as she shares, and then we engage over 3 monologues that showcase fear, then change, and then diminishment, all in a very completely fresh, different light. She joins us today from New Orleans. Monica, a hearty welcome to Working on Purpose.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here and to be on the other side of the microphone.
I understand. It really is a nice, pleasant surprise once in a while, isn't it?
It is. It's wonderful. A great conversation.
It is. Listeners and viewers, I like to tell you where I find my guests. Most all of them, about 98%, come to me through a public relations representative who usually has an author that fits with what I'm trying to showcase. In this case, I picked up Monica on my own. She and I were speaking together at Thrive in 25, a women's conference in Chicago in June of 2025. I was the MC. She was a keynote speaker. And when I heard her speak, 1, I immediately had to get to know her and connect with her. And then 2, I had to bring her on to share her with you. So what I want you to focus on as we go through the show, through this particular episode, is I want you to think about the power, the importance of effective and powerful communication as a professional and as a leader. Everything that you're going to see her do, you can actually learn. Now, this is top-notch skills that you're going to see and witness, but imagine if you could approximate even some of the skills she's about to show us. So what we're going to do in this episode is, for each of the segments, we're going to be working on a singular topic. She's going to do her character-based monologue, and then I'm going to engage her in conversation over that topic. And the next episode, or the next segment, we'll do the same in the next topic. So this first one, how would you like to cue it up, Monica? How would you like to start?
Well, first of all, I'd like to start by saying I met the most generous, amazing, and talented person in Chicago, and I'm so honored to be here. But what really surprised me, and doesn't always surprise me, is when I let people know that I'm going to do these characters or do these monologues, which ones really resonate. And the one I did on fear, it never seems to fail, that is the one that whether you're a leader, have an entrepreneur, or you're a career person, it's always kind of in the back of your mind what fear means in your life. So you let me know when you'd like me to start, but I want it to be a really engaging conversation as well.
I promise you, I will engage you. So let me just give you, as if I literally am, just like I did when we were in Chicago and I was your MC. I introduced you, and then I gave you a hug. So this is a virtual hug. And then I got off the stage and you took it away. So here's your virtual hug, and here's the mic.
It is the 23rd century, and fear has finally been captured and put on trial for crimes against humanity. For too long, fear has stood in the way of unrealized dreams. Fear accused of stealing the hopes and dreams of mankind. We, the judges of the High Court, will decide your fate. You have opted not to call a single witness, but it's now time for closing arguments. Fear, present your closing argument. Judges of the High Court, there's been a horrible mistake. I am not guilty. During this long and difficult case, many horrible things have been said about me. I've been called vile names: thief, bully, manipulative, although I do prefer the word seductive. And yes, I have been called evil. I ask you, is this the face of evil? I've opted not to call a single witness because this is an open and shut case. Humanity is to blame for all its missed opportunities. I'm a scapegoat. Think about it. I get blamed for everything: fear of public speaking, fear of being alone, you name it. The laundry list is very long. Those of you in the courtroom, surely you feel my pain. I'm so alone and despised and so misunderstood. The prosecution has paraded witness after witness, each person lamenting about how I stood in the way of their dreams, how they slipped through their fingers like sand. And here's the truth. I have grown weary of the finger pointing and the attacks on my character. I am not guilty. You want to know the truth? You want to know what's really going on? Do you want to know all of my secrets? Well, I will tell you. I can't do anything without your permission. In fact, had you hung in there one more year, one more month, one more time, you would have realized your dreams, but you got scared and you blamed me. For all I did was whisper. You'll never have enough money to buy the dream house you really want. All I did was whisper. You're losing money by the second, and you'll lose this business before it's all said and done. All I did was whisper. You were born on the wrong side of the track, and I don't care how much you spend looking the part, you feel like a fraud, don't you? Well, everyone knows. All I did was whisper. I whispered things about you to your mother and your father and your sister and your brother and your coworker or even your business partner, and they were all too willing to repeat it, and you stopped working on your dreams. You stayed down, stayed depressed, and refused to do for yourself what you could have and should have done for yourself. You want to know the secret? You want to know what keeps me alive century after century? Well, it's you, humanity. I can't do anything without your permission. I exist because you allow me to. You want to put somebody on trial? You put yourselves on trial. Judges of the High Court, I rest my case. Fear, we have made a decision. We find you guilty. You are hereby banished. Take fear away. Oh, fools. You'll never get rid of me. Never. And that's fear on trial.
That is only the second time that I've heard that, and it is so powerful. Listeners and viewers, imagine being in a hotel ballroom, and Monica performs this performance, and we were all leaning forward. As I told her afterwards, she produced a collective goosebump in the crowd. And so let's now kind of peel this back and understand a bit more about what you did there and why this is so provocative. Why is it that we can so sit with and relate and be captivated by your message? It's certainly your performance, but it's also your message. So the power of fear, what is it? What's its real power?
Its real power is that we give it power. And it takes advantage of that because it's very easy. There's a laundry list when we think about it of all the things that we blame fear for. I mentioned public speaking. There's also starting a business. There's also falling in love. There's also leaving a romance that you think you should have forever. And the truth is, it's no longer serving you, but you don't leave because you're fearful. And we've learned to scapegoat fear and not recognize that fear lives because we allow it to, the type of fear that stands in the way of what we say we want. And I thought about fear before I actually put the script together and put the character together. And I said, we often think about fear as this fire-breathing dragon, huge presence, right? Huge presence. And I'm actually driving in New Orleans, crossing one of our many, many bridges. And I said, fear is nothing but a whisper talking to us all the time. That whisper when you're about to make the pitch for your business to get the funding that says, you're not going to get it. You're a terrible speaker, then no one's going to believe you, whatever the situation is. And I said, fear whispers. And because we listen to the whisper, then we create what we say we don't want in our lives.
So what should we do instead when fear whispers to us?
I think number one is to realize fear is always looking for an opportunity to whisper. And at the end, when fear says, you'll never get rid of me, that's the truth. Think about the times, Elise, when you stood there or we stand there, we accomplish something, and then we get another opportunity. It's bigger, it's bolder. And then those same doubts start to creep in again. And fear finds that opening. And fear says, I don't know this time if you're going to make it or not. So always looking for an opportunity. And the truth is, and perhaps there's some information that we could use, but we have to assess whether or not what fear is saying is the truth. If fear is speaking in absolutes, you're terrible, you'll never make it, there's no way people are going to hire you. And is that the truth? And the truth is probably not. But if there's a kernel of truth, we can address it. We can say, well, maybe there's something I may need to prepare or to stand a little bit taller and stronger in this, but it's nothing I can't do. It's nothing I can't figure out. So again, recognize fear is looking for opportunities, and that you have to figure out if it's fact or fiction. Is it fact or false? And then the third thing is to go, some people say, pull your receipts. Go back and remember the last time you were in a situation where you were listening to fear. And what happened? Either you said, fear, you're right, or you said, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to make this happen anyway. And say, I've done it before and I can do it again.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me as you're sharing this and really casting the true character of fear here, that really what's happening when fear whispers to us is it's telling us this is important to you. This is important to you. Pay attention to this.
Yes. Right. It's very important because, again, fear is looking for those opportunities, and it only comes when the stakes are high, when we want this is really important, and we should pay attention to not only what fear is saying, but what we really want, what we say we want, and how willing are we to absolutely do what we need to do. And, we make mistakes, and sometimes we're a little wobbly when we stand up and don't have our shoulders back as much as we should. But at the end of the day, what we want is important, and we can figure it out, and we can stand tall, and we can know that we don't have to listen to what fear is trying to tell us. Fear doesn't have the final word. It really doesn't.
Now, let's introduce something that many listeners and viewers can completely relate to, and that's what happens when we experience fear in organizations. And you and I have both worked in organizations where it's so palpable. And fear is present in most organizations. The question is, to what extent is it running the organization? I've had guests on the show talking about how to be able to intervene and address and handle fear in organizations, but it dampens innovation. It reduces your capacity to perform and to give your best, to support your colleagues. It's a terrible thing when it runs rampant in an organization. Just briefly, Monica, if you could share a bit about how can organizations deal with this character?
It happens so much, and in industries. I come from an industry in media where downsizing, it's not unusual. You do your shift, your board shift, your show, and then they go, we're going in a different direction, and everybody's gone. So one of the things that I've had to work through myself is that you're going to feel that panic, right? You're going to feel like this is the end of the world. And organizations, I don't always know the best answer to give you, like how you talk to your people about it, but be very sensitive about what this means and the different reactions that people are going to have. I've known people in my industries, because fear, they had heard about things that were going to happen, and then when it happened, some stayed, some left, and the shoe finally dropped, and they destroyed everything they had. I mean, they got rid of their plaques. They threw away in the trash can all the things that they had achieved throughout their career, particularly at this one place. But I would encourage leaders to know that, number one, it's not just about you and how they're reacting to you and reacting to the news, that it's going to take a moment to heal, that this is very, very challenging, particularly when the employee or the team member, wager their bet. If I do everything I'm supposed to do, if I work even harder, this will pass me by. And what we find is that it doesn't always pass us by. And then suddenly you're out the door, or you're doing some different work, or you're not doing the kind of work that you really wanted to do. So I would just really know that it hurts, but you'll get through it. And leaders, people know that you have done everything you know how to do to be sensitive to what's happening. I think that's going to help. Maybe not today, maybe not the moment it happens, but I think they'll understand that this is something that happens.
So much to consider, Monica. Let's let our listeners and viewers just think about what you shared with fear, and we'll take our first break here. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. We've been on here with Monica Pierre, founder of Story Maker Academy, who also specializes in helping leaders and entrepreneurs move beyond their fear to embrace authentic transformation. We've been showcasing fear and how she describes it through her character-based monologues. After the break, we're going to talk about change in the same capacity. We'll be right back.
Dr. Elise Cortez is a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, an inspirational speaker and author. She helps companies visioneer for greater purpose among stakeholders and develop purpose-inspired leadership and meaning-infused cultures that elevate fulfillment, performance, and commitment within the workforce. To learn more or to invite Elise to speak to your organization, please visit her at elisecortez.com. Let's talk about how to get your employees working on purpose. This is Working on Purpose with Dr. Elise Cortez. To To reach our program today or to open a conversation with Elise, send an email to Elise, A-L-I-S-E, at EliseCortez.com. Now, back to Working on Purpose.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Working on Purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez, as I am dedicated to helping create a world where organizations thrive because their people thrive, are led by inspirational leaders that help them find and contribute their greatness, and we do business that betters the world. I keep researching and writing my own books. So one of my latest came out. It's called The Great Revitalization, How Activating Meaning and Purpose Can Radically Enliven Your Business. And I wrote it to help leaders understand today's discerning and diverse workforce. What do they want and need to give their best and stay with you? And then I'll give you 22 best practices to help equip you to provide that in your culture to be able to meet that for them. You can find my books on Amazon or my personal site, EliseCortez.com. If you are just now joining us, my guest is Monica Pierre. She's a keynote speaker, award-winning reporter and producer, communication expert, and transformational storyteller who ignites audiences through the power of character-driven monologues, which you are now witnessing and experiencing today. So for this next segment here, Monica, let us talk about change. Change is one of those other words, just like fear, that gets a bad rap. So let me give you the virtual hug, pass you the mic.
Got it. And I'll step on stage.
All right.
There we go. There was a knock at the door. And when the person on the inside answered, there was change just standing there. And the person on the inside became angry and yelled, "Go away, change. You go away." Slammed the door, bolted the lock, thought he had kept change out. Oh, but change being change, on the way on the inside anyway. And the person said, "Not again, change. What are you doing here? I'm just getting back on my feet after the last time you were here. Can't you just pass me by? Just this once. Just this once." Change had a seat and told the person that he was not leaving. And there was a lot of pleading and demanding and anger. But change sat right there and said, you know I'd come around. There's no way that in life you're going to escape me. But the answer and the truth is, what are you going to do when I come to visit and come to be here? Because here's the truth. I'm really not here to harm you. I'm here because things happen out of your control. Seasons change. But it doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you are somehow exempt because you're a positive person or a good person. I am here because this is your opportunity to grow. To grow? I don't want to keep growing. I want to have stability and some sameness in my life. And Change said, but that's not life. That's not the way it goes. And Change told the person something that it had not considered before. Remember the last time I was here? You were kicking, you were screaming, you cursed me. But what happened on the other side of that? That's right. That's right. You came up with an amazing idea. You were able to take this moment of when you thought the world was coming to an end and you spun it on its head and you created something else. And you would have never done it had I not knocked on your door. Keep this in mind. I don't take it personally, but I want you to know you have been through changing seasons before, and you got through it. You learned things had to be a little different, but you got through, and you will get through this time.
Oh, how many of us need to hear that monologue just a couple of times a day?
Yeah.
So change is one of those kind of things that's really interesting. What I've come to think about change, because I do work with my clients about change too. Of course, a lot of things happens when I'm brought into an organization and we're working on the culture, in part because maybe there's been a major rift and a lot of people have left and such. These are changes that people didn't ask for. And so what I oftentimes situate with people is there's a couple of different ways of relating to change depending on how it does show up. Now, for example, if I were to park in your driveway, your favorite all-time car that you never thought you were ever going to be able to get, in your favorite color, you'd probably be okay with that change. Probably.
Yes, absolutely.
And everything else, right? You'd probably be okay with that change. It's when we didn't necessarily see it coming, invite it, want it, that we seem to resist it the most. And yet, as you say, oftentimes there's a purpose in that change. Talk about that purpose.
Yeah, there's a purpose in that change. And we don't see it initially because we're so doggone broadsided by it, angry because of it. We're experiencing observing the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans and the Gulf Coast, even parts of Mississippi. And it was, when I tell you, a change that was seismic. It was everything we knew. It wasn't just your work. It wasn't just your city. It was your family. It was everything. And what are you going to do with that change? Are you going to try to stay? Are you going to stay away? Are you going to rebuild? And I remember after it hit and we realized that this was not going to be 3 days and it's over with, I was talking to a friend of a friend. And I said, wow. And she said, this hurricane has come and my house is gone and my job is gone. And I could do something else. I could live anywhere. And I said, well, that's amazing. That's an amazing attitude to have. Where would you like to live? What would you like to do? And she said, well, the storm took my house. It didn't take away my doubts. And so she didn't do anything because it was so overwhelming. And I started thinking, the first thing is to recognize that there is a reaction and a purpose to the change. And you may not be able to see it right away because, again, when you're trying to rebuild your life from scratch, it's not, what is my purpose? What is the purpose of change? And what am I going to learn from this? But there's always a reason. There's always something. And even if it was not brought upon us from our own doing, like a hurricane, but our responsibility and the growth comes along with, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do now? Is there something that we could do while we're rebuilding that we can tap into and bring to light? That's why so many people even got married. They had been in a relationship for the longest and they had a lot of weddings as a result of that. Or they decided that, what? I am going to pivot. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take on this different thing because this is something that I really wanted to do. So at least while again, these things are just the human condition and the reaction, change does have a purpose. And maybe not directly because this happened, but as a result of it, I also created things. I think we forget how powerful we are as creators, especially when change comes about.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that. I do want to get into this notion of how we can move from victim to co-creator, as you like to say. But before we do that, really quick, I just want to situate. In terms of change, I have a connection to Hurricane Katrina in 2005 because my then husband had gone to high school in New Orleans and gone to Jesuit. And so when the hurricane hit, he called the local Dallas Jesuit school and said, hey, how can we help? I'm sure you're doing something. And he said, you need diapers, cans of food, rooms in the house. She said, how many rooms do you have? And we said 4. And so within a matter of days, we ended up bringing in, we talked about by the phone, 3 of the high school senior boys and 1 set of parents. And a couple of days later, they walked through the door. My daughter was 2.5 years old. She got 3 big brothers overnight. I got 3 exceptional boys who I've been connected to ever since. We thought we were opening our home to help them. Turns out they helped us and changed our lives. That's the other side of change. We did not expect that to happen, and it did.
Yeah, that is so
Michael and Ellen. That's who they are.
Right. And again, when we think about it, I think one of the things that Change was trying to tell them, when you look back over it, you see things that you may not have been willing to see or open to seeing in the beginning. But as you go through it, you see how you have grown, you see how you have just made some different decisions. There's another side of it, or the other side, as when we decide that we're not just going to wallow in how unfair it is, how not right now. I'm still trying to get my life together from the last visit you gave me, Change. I don't need this right now. We can say, I didn't really want it. I have a friend who like many of us, had a very serious illness, and she just said, I know in my heart this is going to be painful, but on the other side of it, I'm going to be a testimony for somebody. And she absolutely has been. She is cancer free, but she just knew it. She just knew it. And it was hard. It was very hard, very painful, very unfair, like the sweetest person in the world for this to happen to. But she knew, and she continues to do well. And so she is just a living testament on the other side of change and what it looks like.
And there I would want to celebrate a page from logotherapy. So logo, listeners and viewers, is Greek for meaning. So one of my degrees is in logo philosophy. It's part of what I practice inside organizations to elevate their vitality. But one of the things that we know in logotherapy is that the human spirit cannot be vanquished. And so we have the ability to tap into our own individual human spirit. Whenever change comes knocking, whenever anything happens that we don't expect or don't want, that capacity to do just what your friend did is available to us all. The opportunity is to connect with that and to be reminded of that internal power that we always have access to.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing. And again, if we can remember that, because usually our first reaction is, this is terrible, this is horrible, this is not right. How much pain can one person take? Why is the entire city underwater for the most part? All of those initial reactions and questions come, but a lot of things happen as a result. I think one of the things that happened for those who decided to stay and rebuild in New Orleans, there was such a connection and a resiliency and love of the city that people were willing to do whatever it took. And sometimes we kind of take advantage for granted what we have. And so this city collectively decided that we love it, we're not going anywhere, and we're going to do what we need to do to rebuild individually and rebuild and reinvest collectively.
And all of us are the beneficiaries for that, beyond those who live inside the city like you. All right, let's let our listeners and viewers reflect on change and how you can move from being a victim to a co-creator, as Monica advocates. And we'll take our last break. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. We've been on air with Monica Pierre. She's the founder of the Story Maker Academy. She also specializes in helping leaders and entrepreneurs move beyond their fear to embrace authentic transformation. In this segment, we've been focused on change. In the last and final segment, we're going to focus on devaluing and diminishing and what that looks like and what we can do about that. We'll be right back.
Dr. Elise Cortez is a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, an inspirational speaker and author. She helps companies visioneer for greater purpose among stakeholders and develop purpose-inspired leadership and meaning-infused cultures that elevate fulfillment, performance, and commitment within the workforce. To learn more or to invite Elise to speak to your organization, please visit her at elisecortez.com. Let's talk about how to get your employees working on purpose. This is Working on Purpose with Dr. Elise Cortez. To reach our program today or to open a conversation with Elise, send an email to Elise, A-L-I-S-E, at elisecortez.com. Now, back to Working on Purpose.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Working on Purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. As you know by now, this program is dedicated to empowering and inspiring you along your journey to realize more of your potential. If you want to learn more about how we can work together and learn more about the Gusto Now Academy for leaders and individuals, on various journeys alike, make your way to gusto-now.com and then go to the training tab. There you can access the Academy and the offerings. We'd love to have you join us. If you are just now joining us today, my guest is Monica Pierre, a keynote speaker, award-winning reporter and producer, communication expert, and transformational storyteller who ignites audiences through the power of character-driven monologues, which we've been experiencing in this particular podcast. For this last segment, this is so important across all of life, to how she's going to situate the idea of how we can either unintentionally or sometimes intentionally diminish or devalue people all around us when in fact they have something to share with us that could really benefit us. So Monica, here it is. I have now introduced you. We're both on stage together. Here is your virtual hug, and I leave you with the mic.
Thank you, Elise. Man, hello. How y'all do? My name is Miss Tilly. I'm from the Lafayette, Louisiana area. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but you got New Orleans and you got like Shreveport, but you also got a little part that's really more Cajun country. That's where I'm from. People telling me all the time that I have an accent. Man, it don't sound like no accent to me. It's just my voice. Thank y'all so much for letting me come and talk. I work at the dormitory. I clean the dormitory, and I've been doing it now for almost 30 years. Ooh, God, yeah, that's a long time, right? I like it and everything, but it gets a little hard. My knees and stuff hurt, but I like it. And you know what I like the most? Oh, all the girls who live in this here dormitory. They come from all over the world. And some of them are rich, and some of them are poor. They don't have two good pennies to rub together. But I treat them all the same. Because you know what, Sha? It don't take nothing to be nice to somebody. Anybody can do that. And these girls here, some of them have what y'all call that high self-esteem. They think plenty of themselves. And some of these others, they don't have no steam at all. Oh, it's kind of sad to watch. And they're working on all sorts of degrees, engineering and technology, and they're working on this and that. I'll tell you the truth. Sometimes when they tell me what their degree is in and what they're working on and STEM and all that, I don't know what that is. But I listen. And I smile. And I said, man, that's nice. I know you're going to do a good job. Because you know what, Sha? It don't take nothing to listen to somebody talk about their dreams. Anybody can do that. I don't care who you are. I just love being here. But sometimes my children, they tell me that I'm getting too old and that I need to quit. My oldest boy, he's the big time engineer. You know what he told me? He told me that he was going to pay me to stay home and not work. I said, what? You shame of me? He said, Ma, it don't look good. You working at the dormitory at your age. I said, you shame of me, boy? You know what? It was my working at the dormitory that put that boy all through college and graduate school and his MBA. He act like he forgot that. I love being here, and I pay attention to the girls. Sometimes they don't speak to me. Sometimes they don't even say hi. Sometimes they don't even smile. But I pay attention, and sometimes I hear them, they be crying, or they look very, very sad. And I say, what's wrong, Sha? Sometimes they got a bad grade, or their professors say they should change their major. I say, let me tell you something. That professor, she might know her books, but she don't know you. She don't know what you're made of. You can do it. You can make it. I know it's hard, and Miss Tilly don't know how to help you. But I know you can do it. You hang in there. And they say, thank you, Miss Tilly. Thank you so much. And I say, Miss Sha, It don't take nothing to encourage somebody. Man, anybody can do that. And anyway, I would miss working here at the dormitory. I'm always hearing back from some of the girls who took the time to talk to me and let me talk to them. In fact, I get letters all the time. That's right. I tell them, don't y'all be sending me no emails. I don't know how to open that. Send me a letter. They send me a letter, and I just got one today. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read it to you. Dear Miss Tilly, just a quick letter to let you know that everything is fine. I'm doing really well on my new job. People like me so much. And there's even one lady here who reminds you of me, reminds me of you. She's always saying that it doesn't take anything to encourage anyone. It doesn't take anything to listen to someone talk about their dreams or even their problems. Doesn't that sound familiar? Miss Tilly, I will always remember how special you were to me. Remember the time when I was feeling very sad and you saw me, you asked me what was wrong. I didn't want to tell you at first, but you just wouldn't stop. You kept at me until I told you. I was about to quit school. My scholarship barely covered everything, and Mommy and Daddy couldn't afford to send me anything. And I said, you know what? This dream is too big. And you said, you listen to me, little girl. You don't quit. You hang in there. You have faith. And you know, if you keep believing, what you need will happen. It will come. I don't know how it happened, but just 2 weeks later, the money I needed suddenly appeared, and I was able to stay. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Miss Tilly. I can't say it enough. You saw me, and I appreciate it. Well, I'm going to go now, but I just wanted to write to you. I know, no emails, just regular mail. Until next time, thank you so much. Molly Gale, your astronaut. Woo. That little girl was always talking about the moon and the stars and being an astronaut. I'm so glad she made it. I'm so glad she stuck with it. You know what? Let me tell you what I know. I might be old. It don't matter what you do. You can have the keys to the kingdom, or you could have the keys to the janitor's closet. Don't matter. What matters is what you do to put good in the world and put good into somebody. So you be encouraged now. I got to get back to my work. Thank you so much.
Oh, I could listen to this all day long. Okay, so many things I want to say about that, and of course we've got maybe 5 minutes left here. So a couple things I want to say. One is that it's such a beautiful story. Miss Tilly knew her value, even though her son didn't, and boy did she change lives in her role. And I like how in that particular story, it really does show how we can overlook the contributions of people based on their appearance or their title. We can miss those beautiful gifts. If she hadn't stopped to engage in, and she said, well, she's just whatever. She's just the cleaner. She's just the whatever, the steward here. She would have missed that beautiful encouragement and that advice, and maybe didn't become an astronaut, didn't pursue her dreams. So there's so much in that story, Monica, that is so beautiful. And being able to stand in your own place, even though there's a shadow right next to you that belongs to you, and you embrace all of that, to be able to do what you know needs to be done in the world is such a beautiful thing. It's so important to be reminded of that, and to encourage people to do more of that.
Right. And working on purpose, what I love about Miss Tilly as well is that she knows her purpose, and the job puts her in line and in connection with the people she can serve with her purpose. It's amazing to me. And there are so many people in our organizations, our teams, we tend to say, well, if they're not the president or they're not the executive director, it's all top down. We overlook the people who can just encourage us. And sometimes that's what we need to say, it's hard, but you don't quit anything. You keep going, you figure it out. When I perform this, people often ask, well, did Miss Tilly give her the money? I'm going, I don't know. Maybe she did.
Didn't even think about that. That's so funny as a possibility.
Yeah.
But you also are talking about the importance of really cultivating genuine relationships versus just trying to, to network for the sake of network. And also the vulnerability that comes with being real. What happens when we're just real with people? That's beautiful in leadership. It's beautiful in relationships.
And it's so important. And again, when we are living on purpose and working on purpose and working our purpose, we know that there will be people we touch that we may never hear from. We may never get a Molly Gale letter. We're living and doing what we need to do, those genuine connections, and believe it, it's not in vain. That made the difference. I'm sure you get at least all the time people saying what you said at the conference or what you wrote in the book really impacted me. And sometimes you just have to know that it's happening, and we do it for goodness sake, because that's our role, to serve and to find our ways to live our purpose.
It's funny you say that. I really appreciate when I do hear that, but there are many, many, many times that I don't hear that. And I just, somebody else will say, I heard about you, or do you know what so-and-so did because I heard you in your conference? I'm like, no, they didn't say anything to me. So I hear it third party sometimes, which is really, really interesting. But I'm definitely a big, big believer in let's put goodness in the world. Let's be kind to people. In fact, we are also talking in the show about mattering, the importance of mattering, knowing. And so mattering is knowing that you are valued and knowing that you add value. So Miss Tilly knows that she's valued, and she knows she's adding value. She knows she matters. And most every human being on the planet craves knowing they matter. We can do so much to help them ensure that they get something that shows that they are mattering.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just as Miss Tilly is doing, yes.
Well said, well said.
It's so beautiful. Your work is so, so powerful. And so we just have really just a couple of minutes here left. Maybe you have like about a minute and a half. I want to give you a chance to close the show, Monica, and how it is that you support leaders in the work that you do. You're helping to develop them as stronger, more effective communicators. If you want to close the show with that and whatever else you'd like to leave the listeners with, say in about a minute.
Well, thank you, first of all, Elise, for being an amazing, purpose-driven, purpose-led person. And again, you were just amazing. No one could take their eyes off of you in Chicago. And to continue the connection really speaks to me. What I want to do and help people is to really understand the power of their own story, what it means, what they're doing in the world. And then to find that that's what people are going to connect with them. Yes, the stats. Yes, your revenue, all of that's important, but it's you. And to find ways to help you feel more comfortable, more confident sharing the story, and that it looks different ways. And when I do the Storymaker Academy, I want people, my students, to feel that how they are, the authentic way is their way. It's the right way. And I also would love to end with this. Right now, I think there's somebody who's very close to giving up, very close to throwing in the towel, very close to hearing the whispers of fear, so shaken by the knock on the door because change is there, and just craving if they could just get a word of encouragement. I want you to know, don't give up. You're very close, very, very close. And the world's going to miss out if you just surrender and don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Monica Pierre, you are a gift to the world. I knew it the moment I met you. I'm so grateful to know you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your beautiful heart, your beautiful soul, with working on purpose, listeners and viewers across the globe. It is wonderful to have you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And, if you want me to, I could just say monicapierrepresents.com is how to stay in touch with me. But I just feel this shift. I love it. I love it. Thank you for doing something different on your show. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And absolutely, I want to call out a couple of ways to get in touch with Monica. So listeners and viewers, you are going to want to learn more about Monica Pierre, the work that she does, helping leaders and entrepreneurs embrace authentic transformation. So you can visit her, as she said. One website is Monica Pierre Presents. Let me spell that for you. So Monica, Monica, Pierre is Pierre. So MonicaPierrePresents.com. You can find her on LinkedIn as well. That's another way to find her, but definitely check her out and connect with her. She's amazing. If you missed last week's show, you can always catch it recorded podcasts. We will see you next week for yet another nourishing and inspiring conversation. And remember, work is one of the best adventures and means of realizing our potential and making the impact we crave, and can give us the opportunity to do business in a way that betters the world. So let's work on purpose.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's program. Be sure to tune into Working on Purpose, featuring your host, Dr. Elise Cortez, each week on W4CY. Together, we'll create a world where business operates conscientiously, leadership inspires impassioned performance, and employees are fulfilled in work that provides the meaning and purpose they crave. See you there. Let's work on purpose.